Good morning. Kalimera. I want to welcome our visitors this morning. If you're new to our community and would like to join our parish, and there are a few people I don't know here today, please fill out one of those white cards that are in the pews in front of you and give it to one of our greeters, and we'll be happy to add you to our parish mailing list. Just right off the top, who here gets really annoyed with themselves when they make a mistake? Who gets more annoyed with themselves when they make a mistake and it affects other people? All right, so I did both today. I totally forgot to offer the prayer for the teachers, because it's the Feast of the Three Hierarchs, and I wanted to do it before communion so I could pray for the Sunday school teachers. So Maria, you're one of the Sunday school teachers. Tell the Sunday school teachers I'll do that next week, and I'm really sorry about that. And to anybody else here who is a school teacher that was looking forward to that today, I'm really sorry about that. I will take care of it next week. I was going to do that before communion, and that's not in the normal course of things. In my mind was I'm receiving communion, and I totally forgot about that. So really sorry, but we'll take care of that next week. Now, on some very, very good news. John, come on up here. John Cook is captain of the Holy Crew that had a great day yesterday. John's crew of Kathy McClary, Mary Moss, Brett Maurer, Mike Zenek, Peter Theophanis, Ed Garrica, Charlie Hambros, Dwight Ford, and George Chigueras, together also with Lisa Alcina, who scored us 25 more parking spots at Dr. Markakis' office, brought in a total yesterday of $4,620 for a grand two-weekend total of $6,870. So $6,870. Thank you, John. And also, this is John's 10th year of doing this. So that's a good round number. So we're going to make it even a bigger, rounder number next year. God bless. Thank you, John. Okay, a few other things here. I'm bound to forget something. It's just that kind of day, I think. The second installment of the Orthodoxy 101 class is tomorrow at 6:30 in the evening. If you didn't come last week and you want to come for the last two, you're totally welcome to. Tomorrow's subject is going to be about the Divine Liturgy, and we'll be discussing the service in depth and going through the liturgy book and showing you how that all works. There is a Divine Liturgy tomorrow morning for the Feast of the Three Hierarchs. If you don't know who the Three Hierarchs are, on the pulpit below Christ, those are the three hierarchs: Basil the Great, Gregory the Theologian, and John Chrysostom. They're also the three stained glass windows in the altar. They're also the three authors of the Divine Liturgies, and they're very important. They all lived in the 4th century, and they each have their own feast day, but on January 30th, we commemorate all of them, and they are the patron saints of teachers and education, which is why I'll do that prayer next week. We'll still be within a week of them. But that's the liturgy tomorrow. And then there is a Divine Liturgy on Thursday, which is for the Feast of the Presentation of Christ in the Temple. That occurred 40 days after Christmas. This is where we get the tradition of doing the 40-day blessing for all of our babies. All you who had children, you brought them here on the 40th day. That came from this feast that we celebrate 40 days after Christmas, which will be Thursday, February 2nd at 10 o'clock. Today is the last Sunday that you can buy tickets for the Apopriatico Glendi, which is this Saturday night. And you can see Carol in the hall afterwards, Carol Fotopoulos, or anybody from Young at Heart. They'll get you tickets to that. And then next Sunday, we got 3 things going on here. Number 1 is the Super Bowl of Caring. Bring in some canned foods. We will take a collection and give them to charitable organizations across Tampa to feed the hungry. We also take money for that. We're having an icon drive in conjunction with our Mission Sunday. So if you've got icons at home that you don't want or you're not using, or you've got paper icons and you're like, I don't want to throw these away, bring them all to church. They'll all go to a third world country to give to Orthodox Christians far away. And then next Sunday is also our Missions Sunday. We'll have someone here from the Mission Center who will be giving a presentation, and our Philip de Host will be giving a tasty lunch in honor of Mission Sunday. It'll be a Super Bowl theme. Kickoff next week is what time? Anybody know? 6:30. We'll be out in plenty of time. Anybody know who's playing in the Super Bowl? Who's the other team besides Atlanta? Patriots. One loyal fan. Yes, I got you, Mark. Mark is the only one who can call me next week at 6:30. All right. I think I got all the announcements. This morning, I'm going to preach about Holy Communion. Someone said to me recently, you know, Father, when I was a kid, very few people went for communion. And now it seems like everybody's going for communion. And the person said to me, do you think these people are actually like preparing for communion the way they should be preparing for communion? And I said, I don't know. I don't ask people. And yesterday I was at a youth event in Clearwater with our Goyans, 20-some of whom are there, which is why the choir has lesser attendance today. And the topic also was about the Divine Liturgy and the Eucharist. And I looked at our young people and I actually kind of felt bad for them. And it sort of dawned on me, maybe we haven't given them or you the proper explanation of what communion is. Because when I was a kid, we went 4 times a year. We went on Christmas and Easter and Panagias and your name day. And I remember one time I was in church in the summer, and I must have been maybe 6 or 7, and the priest came out and said, and no one went for communion. So my dad said, go, it's a sin if no one goes, but you're a little child, so you don't have to prepare, so just go. And so there was always like a kid who would like run up to communion to make sure that there was like somebody going. And now, 40 years later, we have a church where about everybody goes. And so what happened in those 40 years? We went from kind of one end of the pendulum to the other. Do we know how to prepare? Do we even know why we come? The purpose of the sermon today is not to make anybody feel bad, but to help us understand a little bit more about Holy Communion. So please listen with an open mind and an open heart. In the Old Testament, when someone who was clean touched something that was unclean, they became unclean. There's lots of laws in the Old Testament books of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy that says if I am a clean person and I touch a sick person, then I become unclean and I can't go out in the public until I do some kind of ritual cleaning of myself. So clean that touches unclean becomes unclean. We saw that a couple weeks ago in the story of the 10 lepers. The 10 lepers were unclean. They couldn't join the society no matter what they did until they were judged pure. And if you came in contact with a leper, then it was like you had leprosy and you were excluded. So no one could even go and help people with leprosy. I mean, a doctor couldn't go help them because if the doctor touched the unclean, then the doctor became unclean and then the doctor was excluded from society. So the people that were sort of unclean were kind of stuck because anyone who would go with them would be sort of unclean by association. Then you have Jesus who came into contact with the unclean lepers, and then all of a sudden they were clean, and he was unaffected by the encounter. 3 weeks ago we celebrated Epiphany, and same thing. You had the clean Lord come and touch the unclean waters of the Jordan, and all of a sudden the waters became clean. The equation put itself in reverse. Now, if you read in the Old Testament book of Isaiah, by the way, starting next week when you come to church, there's going to be Bibles in the pews. So this will be the last sermon I ever give where I'm going to read from the Bible, and I'm not going to tell you, open the Bible and follow along. But if you want to read this again when you go home, it's Isaiah 6, 1 through 7. This is a vision that Isaiah the prophet had. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. By the way, those circle things behind the altar that the altar boys carry are the representation of these angels. That's a large version of what's on that icon up on the ceiling is a large version of what the altar boys are carrying. Right? The angels with the 6 wings. With 2 they cover their face, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they fly. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundations of the threshold shook at the voice of him who called, and the house was filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me, For I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphim to me, having in his hand a burning coal, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. And he touched my mouth and said, Behold, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin is forgiven. So Isaiah is in the temple of God, and he sees God surrounded by angels. And his first thought isn't like, wow, this is awesome. His first thought is, I don't belong here. I'm very unclean. Woe is me. How can I stand in the presence of God with all these angels, unclean as I am? And God doesn't say, go your way, you're unclean. One of the angels takes a pair of tongs and takes a piece of charcoal from the holy altar, a burning coal, and touches that to Isaiah's mouth and says, your sins are forgiven and your guilt is taken away. And in that process, number one, Isaiah is not eviscerated. Imagine you put a hot coal in your mouth, that would probably be the end of you. And God is not made unclean by this action. The angels stay pure, God stays pure, and the human being stays alive. He touches God and is made greater. He is made clean by touching God. Now all this stuff, the lepers, Epiphany, and Isaiah, that prefigures Holy Communion. When we were offering the communion prayers, when I offer them, and I hope you're listening, one of the prayers says, you are fire which consumes the unworthy. Another prayer says, tremble, O mortal, at the sight of the divine blood, for it is like a live coal which burns the unworthy. Now, we can talk about what to do when you receive, and we can talk about how we can be prepared to receive communion. We can talk about fasting, and is everyone really prepared? And perhaps we should do that. Perhaps I'm going to do that in the future. But before we go with the how and the what on communion, we have to go with the why. And there are many answers. Let's start with Isaiah. Because through Holy Communion, the unclean, me and you, touch the Lord, and we become clean. This doesn't happen by an act of magic, but happens through our faith and our work and God's grace. That is how unclean can touch clean. Each time you receive, each time I receive, we again become clean. And this affects, or should affect, our what and our how for the rest of the week. So if you came for communion today, you became clean. You touched the live coal, and you didn't get burned. God touched you, and you touched God. And we reversed the Old Testament equation. Unclean became clean by touching God. So now, when you leave here, what are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? If this touched your lips and took away your iniquity and cleansed your sin, then tomorrow, are you going to go out with those lips and gossip with them? Or curse with them, or plot behind the back of a coworker with them, or argue with your spouse with them, or yell at your child with them? What are you going to do with the lips that now became clean because they touched the live coal and they somehow survived? What I'm going to do today after I became clean is hopefully going to approach how I approach the week and how I'm going to approach to receive next week. Am I going to approach next week with the guilt of someone who was careless, or with the joy of somebody who was not? Again, we Orthodox, we have all these rules and regulations. Fast, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. You know, people say, well, do you think all these people today didn't have a cup of coffee today? I mean, you shouldn't be doing that before you have communion. But more important than what you ate Friday or Wednesday or this morning, if anything, is the why. I'm coming here because I'm unclean, and I want to become clean. And I'm hoping that I can become clean through this process. And I'm hoping, now that I receive communion, that I'm going to stay clean. I'm certainly going to try to. But then inevitably, something's going to happen in the week, and I'm not going to be totally clean. So I'm going to come again next week, and I'm going to try to clean again. It's like when you take a shower at night. You take the shower to wash all the material filth that we accumulate during the day. We're not cleaning, once for all. We have to clean all the time. Now, no one takes the shower, and after taking the shower says, I'm going to go outside and roll around in the mud. We say, I'm going to take a shower, and then I'm going to try to stay clean. But inevitably, tomorrow, I'm going to need to take another shower. But there's an idea after the shower that I'm clean, and I'm going to stay that way. So after receiving Christ in the Holy Communion, unclean becomes clean. We should go out and we should try to stay clean. And then we're going to come back next week to clean up again whatever we accumulated. Remember Isaiah 6 this week. What hymn are we going to sing next week? What hymn is going to be in your mind this week? Holy, 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 Lord of Sabaoth. I'm going to go do something that does not have anything to do with your glory. Or holy, 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 Lord of Sabaoth. Heaven and earth are full of your glory, and so is my life going to be filled with your glory this week. We pray right before communion, holy gifts are for the holy people of God. Will you be holy? Will I be holy? Or will I be forgetful, careless, without discipline? Because holy means to be set apart. Holy means to be set apart. Communion is the central act of the Orthodox faith. Communion is actually the one and only reason we have this church here. Because anything else we're doing as a church, we could do outside of the church. You want to have a Bible study? We have them outside of the church, in people's homes. I don't attend all of them. Right? So you don't need the church or the priest to have a Bible study. We have basketball, we have Goya, we have dancing, we have fellowship, we have a festival, we have a dance. We have wonderful people. We have people who pray for one another. All those things are great and necessary and key parts of a church community. But the thing that you can only do in a church that you can't do anywhere else is to commune with God. So we are not just the Greek Orthodox Church of Tampa. We are the Eucharistic Assembly of the Orthodox in Tampa. Because nowhere else in Tampa can you have a Eucharistic assembly like the one we just had. Nowhere else can unclean touch the Lord and become clean. That's the central act of what we're doing here. So to do it twice a year is wrong. And to do it every Sunday without any kind of thought or preparation is wrong. But the number one preparation you're to be making is these lips that are going to touch the clean God, what are they going to do when I leave here in a few minutes? What am I going to do with them tomorrow? How am I going to approach next week? Holy, 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 Lord of Sabaoth, heaven and earth and my whole life are filled with your glory. Or holy, 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 Lord of Sabaoth, you fit into a compartment that I'm not going to think about tomorrow. Thank you, God, that I had a miracle today, because my unclean lips somehow became clean through your glory. And now I'm going to try and I'm going to go do something with them tomorrow that honors you. Last week, we had a survey with a strategic plan. And if you didn't take the survey, it's available online. And if you want to know who's in charge of the strategic plan, he's sitting right up here, my good friend and fellow Patriots fan, Mark Edquid. That's not why I picked him, by the way. I love people who are rooting for Atlanta, too. Don't you worry. Just don't call me next week if we lose. And we're doing this strategic plan because we're at a point in our parish where we've got to figure out what does it all mean and how can we take ourselves to the next step. And I'm going to be 45 years old in 6 weeks or so. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I take myself to the next step in my own Christian life? So I'm reading more, I'm listening more, I'm thinking more, and hopefully I'm making a few changes that I need to make so that these unclean lips have become clean through the Divine Liturgy and that are worthy enough to say these words of the Divine Liturgy. I'm doing something with them the rest of my week that shows that I'm worthy of that honor. We're going to talk more about Holy Communion down the line. It isn't just a ritual, it needs understanding so we can approach with purpose, with awe, and with joy. So if you take away anything today, just know that we unclean people, we come here to receive communion to become clean. That's why we come, to encounter the Lord, for the Lord to touch us in a physical way. And the response to this beautiful miracle that most of you received today is to go out with our lips and to do something that's worthwhile, to say things that are worthwhile, to think things that are worthwhile. God bless you and be with you. Thank you for sharing a beautiful Divine Liturgy this morning. And I hope that next week we'll come together to sing Holy, 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 Lord of Sabaoth, heaven and earth are full of glory, and I hope the week is full of glory as well between now and then. Our greeters this morning are Skip Higdon, who's right here, and Maria Zenik, who's right here, and our ambassador is Donna Hamos, who's right back there. And if you're new to our community, please see one of them, and we would love to get you connected to our community.